So this video has been circulating for the last day or two, and it's pretty wild. You're looking at an Emirati F-16, the Desert Falcon, a Block 60. Now this is over Al Mamzar Beach, close to Dubai International Airport, taking down what appears to be an Iranian Shaheed drone, low altitude with civilians on the beach, filming all of this happen. Most likely this is an AIM-9 Sidewinder, maybe an AIM-9 mic. I want to walk through what you're actually seeing here because there's a lot more going on in this clip than just a wild intercept. We also have a lot of other ground to cover this week. Sleeper cells being activated potentially. B-52s showing up in the UK. The Strait of Hormuz maybe cracking ever so slightly open. We additionally have some reports of an MQ-9 Reaper, 2 of them being lost. So we're going to get into all that. I am still on the road, so you're not going to see my face today, as today's environment's not conducive for video, and I think you'll be absolutely fine with that. I will point out, if you are interested in this content, we do have a free newsletter, which is linked down below. That said, let's get into it. First, let's watch this video play out of a Block 60 taking down this drone over Dubai. Now, this definitely looks like a Shaheed style drone that we have seen. Based on layout here in a minute, this appears to be looking or traveling north to south towards downtown Dubai, towards the airport here. And just look at this map real quick and you can see, again, we're on the beach back to the water. So it looks, according to OSINT Intel, he found this location. And if it's true, this drone is traveling more or less north to south into downtown Dubai. Now here comes your Emirati F-16, quite a ways back. Again, this is a Block 60 Desert Fox, and there goes the missile shot. This is towards the city. So just, again, wrap your mind around that. Like, this is pretty much a last ditch effort to prevent this drone from striking and hitting inside downtown Dubai. Now, again, this is coming from OSINT Technical. I'm going to assume this most likely is true based on him doing some math. Now, if we look at again, I am making the assumption this drone was traveling north-south, which would make sense because Iran is off there to the northeast, traveling to downtown Dubai here. And he's saying only about 3.5 miles from Dubai International Airport. Obviously, this is downtown Dubai. So a lot of people and things going on. Now, let's back up. Why is a F-16 taking down this drone? Remember, all these nations are going to be running an integrated air and missile defense, utilizing Patriot missile batteries, fighter jets to handle and protect their airspace. There could be a variety of reasons why this F-16 is doing this shoot down at this point. Now, it is tough to tell. Looking at this map, it looks like this is kind of a last-ditch effort to get this taken down. An advantage of utilizing a fighter to take this down versus a Patriot missile battery. They can stalk these drones and shoot them when they want to try and minimize the debris falling in the area. Again, looking at that, probably a tough one for this case. And again, it's challenging to see where this debris goes, but I am making an assumption that this is falling in around a relatively populated area. Again, if someone has more information, feel free to drop that down in the comments. I was supposed to be flying to Dubai, now not Dubai International, but just down the road at Al Maktoum here in a day. That's obviously not happening in my civilian job. So still very dynamic situation going on. Now the Block 60, just for some perspective, this is UAE's F-16, the Desert Falcon, very advanced. They fly the F-16E and F, single seat, 2-seat variant. This thing can run air-to-air, air-to-ground mode simultaneously. It's perfect for hunting low and slow, small targets against congested backgrounds, meaning it's very capable when we talk about counter-UAS. Now, there is a cool thing on the nose. You'll see this ball. This is a sensor. This is an infrared search and track system tied to the radar, meaning it can pick up heat energy and help cue the radar onto threats or missiles onto threats. You don't see this on US F-16s, at least right now. There are some modifications going on. This was really a heavy Soviet technology that was utilized in their fighters. You'll see them in a MiG-29. Now the F-14 had one as well, but the U.S. military kind of went away from this for quite a while. But with the increasing threat of low observable platforms out there, having a technology to be out there and see heat energy is often a great advantage because it's tougher to hide up jet engine heat, etc. So this is kind of cool. Now, this missile shot here, most likely an AIM-9X. The UAE does have the AIM-9X, which is the latest variant of the Sidewinder. This is a heat-seeking, short-range air-to-air missile, very maneuverable. And if you don't have an AGR-20, the Advanced Precision Kill Weapon System, these laser-guided rockets, which we've talked about on the channel recently, the AIM-9X is probably your best bet to take out these drones. Not ideal when we're talking about missiles that cost hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to take out $30,000 drones, but if that's all you have, there you go. And still cheaper than probably taking a Patriot missile battery shot. So I would look for this AGR-20 potentially being procured or trying to be procured by a lot of these Gulf states and integrated into their platforms. Still relatively new and being integrated and fielded in the US, but again, a very capable and cheap answer to take out these drones. This is how you solve this problem economically. Now, this story is starting to get a little bit more attention. I definitely think it warrants it. And honestly, it's not all too surprising. ABC News has obtained a federal alert to law enforcement agencies saying it's intercepted an encrypted communication described likely of Iranian origin shortly after Khamenei was killed in the opening strikes after Operation Epic Fury on February 28th. The alert says these messages were rebroadcast internationally and may serve as an operational trigger for covert operatives or sleeper assets outside Iran. The key detail, and this is what makes most analysts take this seriously, is that these transmissions were designed for recipients who already had an offline encryption key, meaning whoever is supposed to receive these messages doesn't need to be online. This is pre-positioned. They already have what they need to decode the signal. Now, not to be overly dramatic here, I think it's important that signals analysts have said, at least out in the open, this cannot be confirmed the exact purpose of this traffic. However, we know this pattern fits, and it's kind of what we would expect utilizing proxy forces, asymmetric warfare, utilizing cells that are just lying in wait, ready to attack. Now, 3 B-52 Stratoforces have landed at RAF Fairford. This is in the United Kingdom. Army recognition tied this directly to Operation Epic Fury. Seems to make sense. And as I read it, a potential shift again towards large-scale conventional strikes on Iranian missile sites and command and control infrastructure, as well as other military-type targets, which aligns with the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, and what Chairman Kane both said earlier this week. The Pentagon has said this campaign is moving into a new phase. Not one-off retaliatory strikes, systematic degradation of Iran's ballistic missile architecture, military infrastructure, and command and control. The B-52 is not just a subtle signal, it's definitely a big message. So let's walk through the strike package, the weapons piece of this. Now, we're moving in this phase away from standoff munitions like Tomahawk cruise missiles, more towards JDAMs, Joint Direct Attack Munitions, these stand-in munitions. You might have heard that term. These are dumb bombs turned into smart bombs with GPS and laser-guided kits, 500, 250 pound, ranging anywhere from 250 pounds upwards of 2,000 pounds, carried across a variety of 4th generation and 5th generation platforms. And as air superiority is gained in different regions of Iran, expect to see these 4th generation platforms utilizing JDAMs to conduct strikes at a much higher volume and tempo. A lot deeper magazine when it comes to these GPS and laser guided bombs versus standoff munitions like JASM, which is a purpose-built low observable cruise missile. I think what we're starting to see as well, kind of what I use traditional strike packages where you have a mix of players. You might have F-22s for air-to-air superiority, mixed in there with F-16 Block 50s and 52s, going out there doing the kinetic portion of the suppression of enemy air defense mission set, the SEED mission, Wild Weasels. Those Wild Weasels are able to address any pop-up surface-to-air missile threats. Again, Iran has mobile surface-to-air missiles. We can't necessarily account for everything. The F-22s able to handle any air picture. Now, you also might see like the Strike Eagle conducting strike missions, being that striker dropping bombs, but they have a built-in self-protect, self-escort aspect. Other fighters do as well, but for this example, imagine you might see a strike package comprised of F-22s, F-16s, going out there escorting Strike Eagles into an area where air superiority is questionable or the threat environment's high. That F-15E Strike Eagle able to quickly maneuver, defend itself, not only with air-to-air missiles, but with countermeasures. A little bit more survivable than if we're talking a B-52 rolling deep. But again, I expect to see this ops tempo increase. There are early signs that the Strait of Hormuz is just cracking open ever so slightly. Now, S&P Global and shipping tracking data show that tanker traffic through the Strait dropped nearly 70% in the first day and down to 90% thereafter. Now, the challenge here is vast. Now, for my baseball fans out there, the U.S. and Gulf states have to bat 1,000 when it comes to this. Iran only needs a walk or a base hit or heck, even a foul ball at this point, because if they get one hit or even one close pass, that can absolutely shut down this back again. Insurance underwriters, it's been all over the internet. Now, there are reports of additional MQ-9 Reaper losses. Potentially 3 have been lost. We have not seen this confirmed yet. Circumstances most likely vary, but apparently 1 was shot down by Iranian air defenses. Now, this is all coming from open source, so it might be completely invalidated, but nonetheless, it is appearing that 3 have been lost. There could be a variety of reasons: friendly fire, loss of link, shot down by Iranian air defenses, a whole 9 yards. But this is an intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance platform, as well as has a strike capability. It's a very capable unmanned aerial vehicle. I do want to wrap up with a video from Kamal Karza. He's a foreign policy advisor to the supreme leader, which apparently we have a new one, which is Khamenei's son. And at least at the time of filming this video, he's still alive. But the trend line is not good for these guys who've been elected, or I use that term loosely, who've been placed into power, might be a better way of saying that. But he goes on to say that there's no room for negotiation. That time has come and passed.
Now there's no room for negotiation. President Trump says he wants complete surrender. What does that lead to?
There's no room unless the economic pressure would be built up to the extent that other countries would intervene to guarantee this termination of aggression of Americans and Israelis against Iran.
He also goes on to say the fact that they've picked a new leader shows how well things are going and that it is functioning as planned. And the Iranian military capability, or at least what's being said by the United States and others, that those are all false narratives and that the Iranian military is quite strong. So I will say we could dive into a whole rabbit hole on the operation and people are dissecting it. But it does seem clear that the United States, Israel, and the Gulf states are hammering Iran when it comes to their military capability. And he says this is an existential threat to Iran. So bringing their full might, which again, we have talked about, being backed into the corner. So that's where things sit today. We got an Emirati Block 60 hammering drones over Dubai's beach. Very striking and shows how this is going. We have intelligence chatter about activated sleeper cells in the West, a real pattern with uncertain intent, although I think we probably can read between the lines and use our imagination here. More bombers, more fighters moving to the region, moving to those stand-in strikes. The Strait might be opening up just ever so slightly. And Iran, their new leader, talking about their intentions. So still a lot of dynamic things are transpiring here. We'll continue to pull in the threads and try to wrap our arms around it. And again, if you like this content, make sure you check out our newsletter, which is absolutely free, down below, and I'll see you next time.